She always felt different. Not the kind of different that makes someone special, but the kind that makes you feel like you were never meant to be there at all. Her name was Elena. She was the fifth child in a family already struggling to survive. By the time she was born, her parents were tired. Tired of worrying, tired of working, tired of stretching every meal just a little further. She was the fifth child in a family already struggling to survive. By the time she was born, her parents were tired. Tired of worrying, tired of working, tired of stretching every meal just a little further. Another child was not a blessing, it was a burden. And even as a little girl, Elena somehow knew it. Elena could not remember exactly when she first began to suspect the truth. Maybe it was the way her mother avoided her eyes. Maybe it was the sharp tone whenever she asked for something simple, like a pair of shoes that actually fit. But one afternoon, when she was about 7 years old, she heard something she was never meant to hear. She had been crouching near the kitchen door, tracing shapes in the dust, when two relatives spoke inside the house. One voice whispered quietly, "Did you know? Her mother tried to get rid of her." Another voice gasped, "Are you serious?" Yes, they said they couldn't afford another child, but the attempt failed. A pause, so, here she is. Elena stood frozen. The words fell into her chest like stones. She did not cry, she did not run. She simply stood there, until her legs began to tremble. And from that day on, she carried the secret like a shadow. Elena's parents did what they could, but there was never enough. Not enough money, not enough food, not enough patience. With 4 older children already needing attention, Elena became the extra weight no one had planned for, so she was sent away. Not with anger, not even with cruelty, just with quiet resignation. For a while she stayed with an aunt, then a cousin, and finally, with her grandmother, and that was where Elena's life began to change. Her grandmother was different. Where others were impatient, she was gentle. Where others were tired, she was patient. Her wrinkled hands brushed Elena's hair, each night before bed, and her voice carried the calm strength of someone who believed deeply in God. Sometimes they would lie side by side, on a thin bamboo mat, while the night insects sang outside. And her grandmother would whisper words, "Elena would never forget, child. Your life is no mistake. The Lord does not make mistakes." For the first time in her life, Elena felt something she had never truly known before. She felt wanted. With her grandmother, she was not the unwanted fifth child. She was simply a. But even in her grandmother's home, life was not easy. School reminded her of the things she didn't have. She wore a patched uniform. Her shoes were worn thin. And when her classmates bought snacks after class, Elena quietly walked home instead. Children can be cruel without even realizing it. Sometimes they laughed at her clothes. Sometimes they ignored her completely. So Elena learned something important. She laughed when they laughed, even when the joke was about her, because being laughed at was still better than being invisible. Yet deep inside, Elena longed for something simple. Just one friend who would stay. One person who would not measure her worth by what she could give. At night, when the world grew quiet, Elena would whisper her questions into the darkness. Why was I born, if no one wanted me? Why couldn't I be like the other girls, with mothers who hugged them and fathers who smiled with pride? The stars never answered. But beside her, her grandmother's steady breathing reminded her that she was not completely alone. Still, a seed had already been planted in Elena's heart, a deep longing to find a place where she truly belonged, a home that was more than 4 walls, a family that was more than blood. She didn't know yet how long that search would be, but this was where her journey began. And so, the story of the fifth child began.